Years in libraries brought me maps drawn by mystics. Beautiful theoretical architecture promising liberation from suffering. Yet, when I looked around at the world those traditions had shaped, I saw the same patterns repeating: escape dressed as enlightenment, transcendence that left the material world exactly as broken as before. I realized something essential was missing, something that could transform how we actually live together, not just how we think about consciousness. I'm Mark Roach. This is Transcendent. Amongst many aspects of my life in business, athletics, and art, my life circumstances have led me to question and look deeper into my own beliefs, as well as those of others. Today, I want to share with you what I wrote, The Awakening Chronicles, a 20-novel series exploring what consciousness evolution looks like when it refuses to abandon the world. The disappointment was particular and sharp. World-negating spirituality had given me insights, but no practical pathways. I'd studied Vedantic philosophy, fourth-way teachings, mystic texts from multiple traditions, breathtaking in their vision, almost useless when it came to healing communities or building systems that actually work for people. The problem wasn't in the wisdom itself. The problem was their framework. When your goal is transcending material reality, you end up irrelevant to the struggles that people face every single day. This led me toward a different question. What if consciousness development wasn't about escaping embodied life, but learning to move through it with full awareness? What if transformation happened not through individual enlightenment in isolation, but through collective work that serves everyone? What if ordinary activities like making coffee, providing healthcare, building structures, teaching children, caring for communities became the actual vessels for evolution rather than obstacles to overcome? The Awakening Chronicles explores exactly this, not theoretically, but through story. Through 20 novels showing in specific detail, sometimes monotonous, and it may get a little boring at times, what consciousness evolution requires when it's embodied, when it's collective, when it engages the world rather than retreating from it. The series follows 5 ordinary people. Elena coordinates healthcare. Maya plays music on street corners. Leo works construction. Joe runs a cafe. Tariq tells jokes for a living. None of them sell out seeking enlightenment. All of them discover it anyway because life demands it. What makes this different from other spiritual fiction is the refusal to sugarcoat what evolution actually costs. Not what we wish it would cost, not what popular spirituality promises, but what it genuinely requires. Time that you don't think you have, or you've been misled to believe that you don't have. Energy that you're already exhausting in giving the dissolution of comfortable identity, the constant willingness to discover, well, you were wrong about something fundamental. The humiliation of realizing your help created dependency instead of freedom. The terror of becoming irrelevant just as you're finally becoming skilled. The first 10 books track expansion from individual awakening to planetary coordination and ultimately to galactic consciousness integration. But this isn't fantasy escapism, it's rigorous exploration of what happens when presence becomes operational principle in actual systems. Healthcare systems improve not by abandoning protocols, but by bringing awareness into them. Construction becomes meaningful work without pretension. Comedy carries revolutionary consciousness shifts. Environmental restoration becomes spiritual practice that produces measurable results. Economic systems begin serving flourishing instead of extraction. The work continues through the second 10 books into the territory nobody talks about, the dependency crisis that emerges when students rely too heavily on teachers, the exhaustion from pace that can't be sustained, the necessity of genuine rest, not as preparation for more activity, but as transformation into something fundamentally different. The succession crisis, where elders must learn to become obsolete, where young coordinators discover authority they're uncertain that they really want, where each generation faces the freedom and the terror of creating something entirely new while honoring what mattered before. I recently completed drafts of books 21 and 22, and what they explore changes everything that we're taught about spiritual development. Book 21 shows what happens when consciousness evolution succeeds so completely that an entire generation is born into partnership as default rather than peak experience. Children who perceive unified field consciousness as a baseline reality. Young people whose natural capacity to work with consciousness exceeds what their teachers can access even after years of training. The devastating recognition arrives that natural capacity without earned wisdom creates unprecedented danger. Perception that's accurate but incomplete. Healing ability that lacks the systemic knowledge won through actual struggle. Book 22 continues into the crisis that emerges when success makes foundational principles invisible. Young creators design brilliantly, but lack experience to understand what breaks over time. Innovation separated from hard-won knowledge creates beautiful failures, requiring elder wisdom to repair, wisdom that's almost completely invisible when prevention works. What these books demonstrate is that consciousness evolution doesn't follow the trajectory we expect. It doesn't move toward increasingly refined transcendence. It moves toward increasingly complex engagement with what actually is. You're watching this because something in you recognizes the insufficiency of passive spirituality. Maybe you've absorbed enough theory to feel saturated. Maybe you've practiced long enough to notice the gap between peak experiences and daily reality. Maybe you're exhausted by the disconnect between what spiritual communities claim and what they actually produce. Maybe you're looking for something that honors your hunger for meaning without requiring you to abandon the world to find it. The Awakening Chronicles speaks directly to this recognition. These books don't offer escape. They offer something harder and more revolutionary. The understanding that ordinary life is the curriculum, that your work matters now, not after you achieve something distant, some kind of distant realization, that your relationships are the path. The consciousness development and practical effectiveness aren't opposing forces, but potential partners. That the transformation you seek and the contribution you want to make are not separate endeavors. More importantly, these novels offer what's rarely available in spiritual literature: honest exploration of what goes wrong, the dynamics between teachers and students that create unhealthy dependency, the way good intentions produce enabling instead of empowerment, the burnout that comes from unsustainable pace presented as spiritual commitment, the grief of becoming obsolete in work you built, the crisis of watching your foundational contribution get surpassed and understanding that's exactly right. These books emerged from thousands of conversations with people navigating this exact terrain, people working in systems trying to serve others, people who've experienced trauma and knowing healing that requires both inner work and external support, people who understand their uniqueness matters, that their contribution has weight, and that ordinary life contains extraordinary possibility when met with genuine presence. The Awakening Chronicles offer what consciousness literature rarely provides: realistic exploration of how awakening actually transmits, how it scales from individuals to the collective, how it honors both the revolutionary potential of awareness and the practical necessities of embodied existence. This isn't escapism. It's necessary mythology for a species learning to evolve consciously. This is narrative infrastructure that could make genuine collective transformation imaginable, desirable, and practically achievable. I'm offering these books not as answers, but as companions on the journey, as demonstrations of what becomes possible when consciousness development serves life's flourishing at every scale, as exploration of what happens when wisdom traditions meet contemporary complexity and refuse to retreat from either. The conversation about who you are and what your life could become doesn't happen in isolation. It happens through engagement, through vulnerability, through willingness to be genuinely changed by people who see what you've missed. If you're ready for books that take your awakening seriously while refusing to let you opt out of embodied life, the Awakening Chronicles are available now. Your uniqueness matters. Your work matters. Your consciousness matters. Not someday after you achieve some perfect state. Now, in this ordinary, extraordinary, sometimes painful, frequently beautiful life that you're already living. I'm Mark Roach. This is Transcendent, wishing you all the best. The most radical act available is showing up authentically in ordinary moments and discovering they were extraordinary all along.